the next gen car is great for super speedway racing.
Oh boy.
I think Jason put this in there just to see us go nuts. Like, I read this last night. I was like, this son trying to piss us off.
And it's working. Let's start with Brett.
Oh man.
Spot on.
Yeah, spot on. It was super fun yesterday to ride around there and just keep knocking the hell out of each other and have nowhere to go. It's very frustrating. And again, I love super speedway racing. There were a few factors that made me want to come back full-time spotting this year. Super speedway racing was one of the top 3 or 4, and the racing is not great. It has to be the top line yesterday when we would get 3 wide. The top line could not sustain any sort of energy, get momentum. It was a legit struggle. I mean, there were a couple times that there were 3 to 4 cars up there that, generally speaking, like a Bubba Wallace, that can pull a line, right? Some guys' cars are fast enough. Corey LaJoie, bless his heart, he's not going to get up there and pull the top line, okay? It's not going to happen. Let's just be realistic. Bubba Wallace, 100%. He's supposed to be able to get up there and pull the top line. And there were multiple times yesterday that it just legitimately cannot form. And that place is 5 lanes wide. It's almost like we've done what we did at Michigan. We ruined Michigan when we repaved it. We come back and it's a single-lane racetrack. Talladega is not supposed to be a 2-lane race. It's supposed to be a 3, 4, 5-lane race. And the Xfinity Series cars are harder to drive. Let's just be honest. They're harder to drive. If you get up there and knock the piss out of each other, guess what you're going to do at Talladega?
Crash.
You're going to wreck. Guess what happens when we knocked the hell out of each other yesterday?
Nothing.
We went faster. We went faster. That's the answer. We went faster, knocking the ever-living hell out of each other at 180 miles an hour. So I am, Jason, on your topic, the next-gen car is great for super speedway racing. Spot off.
Listen, two things, like this car has ruined our best 2 avenues of racing: short tracks and super speedways. Like I'll give you credit. It's 100% better lately at 1.5 miles than we've had in the past.
A million times better.
But the racing that we've kind of been built on was short tracks and super speedways, and they're not good anymore. Like to Brett's point, we were in the back a lot yesterday. We started in the back, and just the way stage breaks and stuff worked out, we were in the back. And Bubba, typically, we're super aggressive. We always try to get to the lead, so we're just trying to get to the top lane. And in the past, in the last car, we could go to top lane and be in the top 5 within 3 or 4 laps. Like, we could make some stuff happen, get that top lane, get the top lane rolling. Yesterday, I couldn't do it. Like, we could not. We'd get up there. We'd have 3 or 4 guys go with us. We'd get to about 10th or 15th and just fall apart. Like, every time we tried, the one time we had a little bit of momentum was when Harrison pulled up and we all got wrecked. But
same. I was in there.
But and I'll tell you what. Another thing yesterday, we didn't have, a lot of people was like, oh, we didn't have a big one. You know why we didn't have a big one? These guys are afraid to crash. Like, how many drivers? Bubba never voiced it, but we talked to drivers last night. We talked to drivers throughout the weekend. They were. I seen Ross did an interview. They were afraid to crash. You can't have a race where these guys are terrified of crashing because they don't know what's going to happen. So that's why you didn't. I mean, not that the aggression level was turned all the way down, but it was lower because we didn't have the big wreck. And I think it was partly TJ because these guys were afraid to crash yesterday.
I don't know. It wasn't obviously the best super speedway race that I've seen, but I don't think it's. I don't mind not 5 guys being able to, get a run, anybody be able to get a run. I like the fact that you have to work for track position a little bit. You have to do things to try to get it and make things happen like that. And I saw plenty of blocks up front that were super aggressive.
Like
I saw
Blaney.
a lot of that one too, but the 99 was really aggressive. There was some pretty good pushing going on up there too. Like they were
but only in the top 4.
Yeah, it was definitely harder to get there, but like, you know what? I'd almost rather have that than you be able to go out there and get a run from 13th and just drive up B5 wide. Like,
the problem
I don't think this is the greatest package, but I don't mind it being harder to do.
The problem was, no matter how hard you worked, if you weren't in the top 3 of your row, you couldn't do, like, you could be the best plate racer in the world. You couldn't do anything.
Nah, you were riding. If you were 8th place on the outside, you were just chilling there.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing I don't like, because there's guys out there. Joe Logano's a perfect example. Like, the most aggressive plate racer was in the back all day long because
he got wrecked.
But when did he get wrecked?
in that Harrison wreck. He was in that.
He didn't try to race again the rest of the
He
day.
never tried.
Well,
I mean, he never
that-
even attempted to race again.
But that was they were padding their points. They were point racing.
It's just like there's guys that can make stuff happen, and they just
But
couldn't
he
do
didn't
anything
try.
yesterday.
But,
Yeah,
you know
but
what? I
but
still
I'm
saw
saying
the
we
guys.
tried.
I still saw the guys that didn't start up front get to the front.
How many times did Martin Truex try yesterday?
No, when the green flag dropped, his race was over.
You saw the good guys of their plate racing get to the front.
How many times Austin Dillon tried yesterday?
Same as Mars. The Bass Pro Shops were together back there.
How many times Joey Logano tried? It wasn't much.
Well, he
tried
he
the
was in the
beginning.
first stage a little bit.
Yeah, he was rolling
yeah,
in the
but then
beginning there.
at the end of the race, he was hanging on to the back of the pack, and I don't mean hanging on as in he sucked. I mean hanging on as in he wanted nothing to do with it.
I think there's a
But that's because he was point racing.
Yeah, I look, man.
He's point
look,
racing. They literally
let me
said
tell
they
you
told me we're not going. We're
we
being
had
safe.
60,000 people pay for grandstand tickets yesterday. Okay, plus whatever was in the infield. I'll say another 20,000 are out there making babies, but we had 60,000 people pay to watch a race yesterday, and we were at Talladega, a 5-lane racetrack, and we ran 2x2 for 90% of that race.
I will give them credit in that there were a ton of lead changes, but I think a difference between the spring race and even Daytona, well, Daytona's a different story.
We
huge.
cannot go back to Talladega Superspeedway and run 2x2 for 4 hours.
How ironic was it that Joey Logano last week said these guys that ride around the back aren't working. They don't deserve finishes, and then
he does that.
And then he rode around the back all day yesterday.
But I mean, there's opportunity to flip your strategy though. We rode around the back the first part of the race, and we got to the front.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying,
But you got to the front by pit strategy.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
but
I'm
that's
saying,
okay.
like, if you,
why does it have to be another way?
No, but I'm saying if you like Brad is an
Well,
accomplished
no,
plate
I will
racer.
say no, not all by. We restarted like 12th on the outside, and we got up to the top. We got behind Blaney at some point on the outside.
Here's where you're missing the boat, in my opinion. How talented is Brad as a plate racer?
Probably one of the best.
How much did that factor into where he would finish yesterday?
Well, we sped on pit road, so
Regardless,
But we
how
got-
much would that have factored into where he finished yesterday? If
It would have factored
let me
in-
finish. If he doesn't have great track position with 10 to go,
oh, you got to have track position.
Where'd you finish?
I don't even know. We
Do
were
you know?
lap down.
Well, you
Oh,
got, you got lucky dog.
Yeah.
But in years past, like you could make stuff happen on a green white checker and get back to the
nope,
top 10.
not in this car.
But the only way that's going to happen is if everyone can get a 30-mile-an-hour run and take a big run. Like,
I mean-
I'm okay with that not happening.
Did you? But
Brad's,
I'm saying,
we
Brad's
made our own
talent.
luck.
Brad's talent is significantly discounted in this car at Talladega Superspeedway. True or false?
I think that's partially false because he
I didn't
knows
say
how.
partially. Is it true
Well,
or false?
I think it's false because Brad figured out how to push Blake. He was learning the
because he was
how to
second
do it.
in line. If you're
But-
sixth in line, you're not going anywhere.
But
That's
he
the
also,
point.
yeah, I mean that's if you're sixth in line, you got to wait and see what happens. But we were in that spot. We got up there because we were.
Who's
12th.
Who's a better plate racer, Brad Keselowski or Todd Gilliland?
I mean,
Brad
it's Brad,
Keselowski.
yeah.
Not yesterday. Todd Gilliland was.
But I will
It's
say
not
this.
because of Todd Gilliland. It's because of this car and because of where he's positioned in the line.
Todd did a really good job yesterday.
He did a great job.
He was behind us a lot of that run.
I
and
was
he just
worried. I
chilling
looked
out.
up one time. I said, "Oh, the 38's leading the top line. It's going to go backwards," and it didn't.
No, he did a good job.
He did a good job.
Yeah.
Well, that's because Austin Cindric finally decided to man up and push.
What did the radio transmission
I'm
say?
not saying what I called it. I used a bad word. I'm not. I've quit cussing today.
I think there could be some work done on it, but I'm okay with it being a strategy and having to work more to get there.
I'm not okay with what happened.
Do you
yesterday.
think? And then Jason, I'll shut up. We can move on. Do you think that 185 miles an hour, that the car behind you should be able to drive up to you and knock the ever living out of you? Because that's what they're doing out there.
Some of them? I couldn't hit anybody yesterday.
But you saw what happened in the front. Do you think at 185 miles an hour, someone should be able to hit you that hard and you maintain control? Do you think that's good racing?
I don't think it's as easy as what you're saying it is because we had to work on our car
I
to be able
just
to
say
get to
we
that.
had. Yeah, I
If
don't.
it's not easy, why didn't we see a big wreck yesterday?
Well, people are also
Because,
scared.
well, I think there's two things. I think it's
I don't
harder
think-
to
I
do.
think scared is a weird word.
I don't think they're as scared as you think.
When they put,
Hey,
and
listen, I'll
I
tell
said,
you right
I
now.
said in my driver's meeting, okay, we had a team meeting, and I had Daniel Hemrick in there. He drove a 16 car yesterday. Obviously, Justin drove a 31, and I said, you guys are talking all this talk, but when y'all put these helmets on, you're going to turn into a bunch of animals because that's what you do.
Freddie?
I disagree with you. I think these guys, it was in their minds. Ross Chastain got out of his car and said he had stomach aches because he was worried about crashing. There's a guy that we talked to last night at dinner that said when we went green, he was only worried about wrecking. Like, it's in their mind when they're out there, whether or not they act on it or whatnot. But the fact that it's in the back of their mind, you can't be out there doing what they do and worried about wrecking.
But so you're saying they all drove more sensible because they're worried about wrecking?
I don't know. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
I mean, it looked a lot more. I mean, they drove with a lot more. There was a lot. There weren't as many as aggressive moves yesterday as I've seen in the past. There was definitely wasn't as many.
There's just shows because we didn't have the big wreck. But I don't know that they changed the way they drove. It's like an accepted fact that we're going to wreck at these places now.
I think it's a bit of both. I saw a bit of both.
And these guys are, but
I didn't see a bad race yesterday. Like, I don't want this to come across wrong. I did not see a bad race. I just hated the way we had to race. That was my struggle. Like, if I were, sitting at home on the couch watching, drinking a cold beer, like, I might have loved that. I don't know.
We've got exciting news. OfferPad wants to buy your home. Go to OfferPad.com right now and tell them all about it. You'll receive a cash offer within 24 hours.